Ladies and gentlemen, let me ask you a question. How many of you are holding on? How many of you are clinging to old fears, old habits, old identities that no longer serve you? I'm not just talking about small things. Sometimes it's deeper than that. Sometimes it's your need to control, your need to be right, your need to prove something to someone. And here's the truth. The harder you hold on, the more life slips through your fingers. Think about water. When you grab it tightly in your hand, it slips away. But when you open your hand and let it flow, it fills your life in ways you never imagined. Life works the same way. Everything you're reaching for, everything you're desperate to control, everything you're trying to soften, the more you try to push, the further it moves from you. Now, I know what you're thinking, but if I let go, won't I lose everything? No. That's the paradox. When you let go of control, when you release the grip on fear, when you stop clinging to outcomes, you open the door to infinite possibilities. You allow the universe, life, the people around you to step in and create magic in your life that you couldn't have imagined when you were holding on so tightly. Letting go is not about giving up. It's not about laziness. It's about clarity. It's about focus. It's about saying, I am done trying to force life to bend my will. I am ready to receive what is mine. Because here's the truth. When you let go, life comes rushing in. Opportunities appear that you never saw before. The right people show up. Solutions appear when you weren't even looking. It's like your hands were so full of fear and resistance that life had no room to give you what you truly wanted. Most people spend their lives chasing, grabbing, and holding on so tight that they are exhausted. And yet, they still feel empty. They are trapped in a cycle of struggle, believing that effort equals results. And while effort is important, there is a hidden principle that only a few ever learn. The most powerful results come not from force, but from surrender. Imagine a tightrope walker. They don't stiffen up. They don't grip the rope with every ounce of their strength. They move with it. They flow. They trust their own skill, and they trust the rope beneath them. Life is like that rope. When you stop gripping so tightly, when you release the tension of fear and control, you find balance. You find freedom. You find flow. And here's the most incredible part. Letting go doesn't mean you stop wanting. It doesn't mean you stop dreaming. It means you stop resisting the path that is already waiting for you. You stop clinging to yesterday's failures, to tomorrow's fears, and you allow the present moment to become the launch pad for everything you desire. So today, I challenge you, release the need to control. Release the attachment to how things should be. Release the fear that tells you to hold on. Stop clinging to the past, stop forcing outcomes, and step into a space of trust and openness. The more you let go, the more life flows in. The more you surrender, the more your dreams show up. Not because you forced them, but because you allowed them. Everything you want, your freedom, your love, your success, your happiness, comes to you the moment you stop trying to grasp it. Let go, trust, flow, and watch as life delivers more than you ever thought possible. Holding on too tightly to life, to people, to outcomes, to dreams, can actually prevent you from achieving what you want the most. Most people think that success, happiness, and fulfillment come from trying harder, pushing more, controlling more, and holding on to every detail. But the paradox is that the tighter you hold on, the less you actually experience. Imagine you are holding a rope. You grip it with all your strength, your knuckles white, your arms trembling. You are trying so hard not to let go. The rope is supposed to take you somewhere, to hold you up, to guide you, but your grip is so rigid that the rope becomes a barrier instead of a tool. Life is the same. When you cling to outcomes, to fears, to expectations, you block the natural flow of energy that could bring the right people, opportunities, and moments into your life. Holding on too tightly often comes from fear. Fear of loss, fear of failure, fear of uncertainty. Fear tells us that if we release control, everything will collapse, everything will disappear, and we will be left with nothing. But the truth is that holding on too tightly is a different form of fear. It's fear dressed as determination. It's fear disguised as persistence. It's fear that tries to protect you from life's unpredictability, but in doing so, it locks you in a cage of your own making. Think about the times in your life when you were desperate to make something happen. Maybe it was a relationship, maybe a business deal, maybe a personal goal. You pushed, you forced, you tried to control every little detail, and what happened? Often it didn't work. The harder you forced it, the more resistance you encountered. The more you clung, the further away your goals seemed to move. And yet, when you stepped back, when you released that desperate grip, when you allowed life to move naturally, things shifted. Opportunities showed up that you hadn't imagined. People responded differently. Doors opened that had seemed permanently closed. Letting go is not about weakness. It's not about surrendering to life in a passive way. It's about recognizing that there is a natural flow to life, a rhythm that, when honored, can bring extraordinary results. When you release your need to control everything, you are no longer fighting against reality. You are no longer wasting energy on resistance. You are no longer exhausting yourself trying to make things happen on your timetable. You create space, space for creativity, space for inspiration, space for possibilities that your mind could never have planned. The universe, life, or whatever force you believe in, always works in ways far bigger than your limited perspective. But if your hands are clenched so tightly, life cannot reach you. Your energy is stuck in fear, in tension, in resistance. When you let go, suddenly your hands are open, your mind is open, and your life becomes open to miracles, solutions, and experiences that were always meant for you. Holding on too tightly also blocks your personal growth. Many people cling to their comfort zones, to the familiar, to old identities because letting go feels dangerous. Letting go feels like stepping into the unknown. But growth, transformation, and achievement live outside the cage of your comfort. If you refuse to release what no longer serves you, whether it's a limiting belief, a toxic relationship, or a failed strategy, you remain stuck in the same patterns. And the irony is that everything you want is just beyond the very grip you refuse to loosen. To move forward, you must trust that life will catch you. You must trust that releasing does not mean losing, it means receiving. You must trust that when you let go of what is weighing you down, you are creating room for what you truly deserve. And let me be clear, this is not easy. Our minds are wired to hold on. Our egos tell us that control equals safety. Our emotions convince us that if we don't cling, we will fall. But the strongest, most successful people are not those who grab and squeeze harder. They are the ones who learn the art of letting go. They learn to release what they cannot control, to focus on what they can influence, and to move forward with faith and clarity. They understand that life is not about forcing outcomes. It's about creating conditions in which what you desire can naturally arrive. They understand that tension repels life while ease attracts it, that resistance blocks energy while surrender opens channels. The moment you understand this principle, the moment you truly embody it, everything begins to change. Your relationships change because you stop trying to force love or respect. Your career changes because you stop trying to manipulate every situation. Your health, your happiness, your peace of mind. Everything shifts because you are no longer holding on too tightly. You are finally allowing life to move, allowing yourself to move, allowing the energy of the world to flow through you, to work with you, to deliver what you could never have manufactured with force or desperation. Letting go is often misunderstood. Many people hear the words "let go" and think it means giving up, quitting, or surrendering to failure. They confuse release with weakness, and so they cling harder, fight longer, and exhaust themselves trying to prove that they can control every situation, every outcome, every person. But the truth is, letting go is the ultimate act of strength. It is the conscious decision to stop wasting energy on what you cannot change, to stop resisting the flow of life, and to open yourself to opportunities that you could never have created by force. Giving up is passive, letting go is active. Giving up says, I cannot. Letting go says, I trust the process and I am ready to receive what is meant for me. When you let go, you are not abandoning your dreams. You are not losing your purpose. You are not giving up on your goals. On the contrary, letting go is the gateway to achieving them more fully than you could have imagined. Many people spend years gripping their desires so tightly that they block their own path. They push, they manipulate, they try to control every variable, and yet their efforts often backfire. The harder they hold on, the more elusive their goals become. But when they release the need to control, when they stop trying to force life to bend to their will, something incredible happens. The universe, life, circumstances, and the people around them start aligning in ways they never expected. Doors open, solutions appear, opportunities show up in places they never thought to look. Letting go is not weakness. It is the intelligent use of energy. This principle works in every area of life. In relationships, letting go does not mean giving up on someone you care about. It means stopping the attempt to control their thoughts, their feelings, their actions. You release the need to manipulate outcomes or force someone to act a certain way. You stop the constant worry and the endless effort to fix or change them. And the paradox is that the moment you do, connection deepens. People respond to authenticity, to freedom, to energy that is not desperate or controlling. Love flows naturally when you release control. In careers, letting go does not mean quitting ambition. It means releasing the obsession with micromanaging every step, with forcing recognition, with demanding success on your timetable. You focus on what you can control, your skill, your effort, your mindset, while letting life deliver the results in its own way, often in ways far greater than you could engineer. In personal growth, letting go allows you to release limiting beliefs, toxic patterns, and old identities that have been holding you back. You stop resisting change and you start becoming who you were always meant to be. Letting go requires courage. It is not easy to release the need to control because control feels safe. Control feels like power. Control feels like protection from uncertainty, from pain, from disappointment. But that sense of safety is an illusion. Life is inherently unpredictable. Trying to control it fully is impossible, exhausting, and ultimately counterproductive. Letting go is the act of stepping into that uncertainty with confidence, of trusting that life has the capacity to give you exactly what you need, exactly when you need it. It is the conscious choice to release tension, to release resistance, to release the weight of your fears. When you do, you move from struggle to flow, from tension to ease, from desperation to clarity. When you practice letting go, you create a fertile environment for growth, abundance, and joy. You stop wasting energy on fighting, on forcing, on manipulating, and you redirect that energy toward creating, learning, serving, and expanding. The space you create by releasing control is where inspiration enters. It is where solutions, people, and opportunities come together in ways that no amount of force could have arranged. It is where alignment occurs, alignment of your values, your actions, and the universe itself. Letting go allows you to operate at a higher level of consciousness, where decisions are guided by clarity instead of fear, where relationships are strengthened by authenticity instead of obligation, where your goals are achieved not through struggle, but through strategic surrender. Many people resist this principle because they confuse letting go with loss. They think that by releasing their grip, they will miss out, fail, or fall behind. But the reality is the opposite. When you stop clinging, you stop blocking. You stop exhausting yourself on resistance. You stop driving yourself into frustration and disappointment, and in that space of release, life moves. You start to see patterns you didn't see before. You start to recognize opportunities that were invisible when you were desperate. You start to feel freedom, peace, and power in ways that no amount of control could ever give you. Fear is one of the most powerful forces that holds people back from achieving everything they want. Fear tells you to hold on. Fear tells you to resist. Fear tells you that if you release control, the world will collapse. Fear convinces you that staying stuck is safer than stepping forward, that clinging to what you know is wiser than embracing the unknown, that holding on is the path to security. But fear is a liar. Fear is a trap. The very thing that frightens you most, the uncertainty, the risk, the possibility of failure, is often the doorway to freedom, growth, and success. When you learn to recognize fear for what it is and decide not to let it control you, you open yourself to possibilities that most people never even imagine. Fear keeps your hands clenched, your mind racing, and your heart tense, and in that tension, life cannot flow. You cannot move. You cannot create. You cannot receive. Resistance is another form of fear. When you resist life, when you resist change, when you resist the natural flow of circumstances, when you resist the people and events around you, you create friction that drains your energy and clouds your vision. Resistance is exhausting. It is invisible, yet it shapes every decision, every action, every moment of your day. Most people don't even realize how much resistance is controlling them. They fight against reality, against other people, against themselves, and they wonder why life feels so heavy, why success seems so distant, why happiness is so elusive. Letting go is the antidote to resistance. When you release resistance, you release tension, you release fear, you release the need to control outcomes, and in that release, life begins to flow with ease. Opportunities appear. Solutions emerge. Relationships improve. Your health, your energy, your clarity. All of these benefit when you stop resisting what is and start embracing what could be. Fear and resistance operate in the mind first. They live in your thoughts, in the stories you tell yourself, in the expectations you carry, in the judgments you place on every moment. I can't do this. I'm not ready. It won't work out. If I let go, I'll lose control. These thoughts create chains that bind you to a life smaller than what you are capable of. And yet, your mind can be trained to work for you instead of against you. Awareness is the first step. Awareness of the fears that drive you, of the resistance that limits you, of the patterns that keep you trapped. The next step is conscious action. The moment you recognize that your fear and resistance are not truths but illusions, you gain the power to release them. You gain the ability to act despite fear, to surrender resistance, to step into uncertainty with courage. And in that moment, you begin to experience the freedom and power that letting go provides. Letting go does not mean you stop caring, and it does not mean you abandon responsibility. It means you stop being controlled by fear. It means you stop being dominated by the need to manage every outcome, to predict every step, to guarantee every result. It means that you trust your own capacity, your own skill, your own resilience, and the flow of life itself. Letting go creates clarity. It allows you to see what is important, to focus on what matters, and to take inspired action instead of reactive action. The energy that was spent on fear and resistance is now available to fuel creativity, innovation, connection, and growth. Consider the people who achieve extraordinary results in their lives. They are not fearless. They feel fear just like everyone else. What sets them apart is their relationship with fear. They do not let fear control them. They acknowledge it, they respect it, they act through it. They know that fear signals where growth lies, and they follow that signal instead of running from it. Resistance, too, is not eliminated. It is transformed. They learn to move with life rather than against it. They learn to release tension instead of holding it. They learn to let go of attachment to outcomes, and in doing so, they find strength, clarity, and direction that most people never experience. Letting go of fear and resistance also allows you to experience life fully. Most people live in a half life, holding back, avoiding discomfort, and playing small because they are afraid of failure, rejection, or disappointment. But when you release fear, when you release resistance, you open yourself to adventure, to opportunity, to deep connection, to joy. You step into your potential. You allow your talents, your energy, and your purpose to express themselves fully. You begin to realize that life is not about avoiding fear. It is about moving through it. It is not about resisting what you cannot control. It is about embracing the flow of what is possible. Fear and resistance shrink when you act with courage and surrender at the same time, and the life that emerges is richer, fuller, and more aligned than anything you could have forced or planned. Flow and trust are the hidden keys to unlocking your potential and creating a life that is abundant, powerful, and fulfilling. Most people spend their lives fighting against the current of life, believing that they must control every circumstance, manipulate every outcome, and force every result. They push, they strain, they stress, and yet they wonder why life feels heavy, why progress is slow, and why fulfillment remains just out of reach. Flow is the opposite of that. Flow is the natural state of alignment where your energy, actions, and circumstances move together seamlessly. Trust is the decision to believe that life has a way of delivering what you need, even if it does not come on your schedule or in the way you expect. Together, flow and trust create a force that multiplies your energy, your impact, and your results in ways that effort alone cannot achieve. When you resist life, when you push against what is, you create friction that wastes energy and obscures clarity. You focus on what you cannot control instead of what you can influence. You get stuck in patterns of stress, anxiety, and frustration because you are constantly trying to make life conform to your expectations. Flow is the antidote. Flow is the willingness to move with life rather than against it. It is the ability to respond to challenges, opportunities, and circumstances with energy, clarity, and precision. It is the choice to stop fighting, stop forcing, and start aligning. Flow does not mean passivity. Flow does not mean laziness. Flow is a state of mastery, of heightened awareness, and of intentional action. It is the recognition that life is constantly moving, and that resistance slows you down while surrender accelerates you. Trust is the companion of flow. Trust is the belief that life has a plan larger than your understanding, and that when you release the need to control, things have a way of working themselves out in your favor. Trust is not naive, it is not blind, it is active. It is rooted in the knowledge that you have the ability to adapt, the intelligence to respond, and the resilience to recover. When you combine flow with trust, you move through life with a sense of ease that is powerful, magnetic, and unstoppable. People, opportunities, and resources are drawn to those who operate from a state of flow and trust because they emit confidence, clarity, and energy that others want to align with. Most people, however, confuse flow and trust with inaction. They see someone who is moving with life and say they are lucky or they are passive, but nothing could be further from the truth. Flow is intentional, flow is discipline, flow requires awareness, focus, and action. It is about knowing what matters most, identifying where you can make the greatest impact, and taking steps that are aligned with your purpose and values. Trust is the courage to let go of outcomes that you cannot control and to invest your energy where it will produce the greatest results. When you operate in this way, life begins to respond in kind. Doors open, connections form, opportunities appear. The energy you create in alignment multiplies in ways that effort alone could never generate. Flow and trust also create freedom. Most people are trapped by fear, doubt, and the constant need to control. They live in a state of tension, constantly wrestling with circumstances and worrying about what might go wrong. Flow releases that tension. Trust dissolves the fear. When you allow yourself to operate from a place of alignment and belief, you experience freedom, freedom to act, freedom to create, freedom to experience life without the weight of unnecessary struggle. This freedom does not mean that life becomes easy. Challenges still arise, obstacles still appear, and problems still demand solutions. But when you flow with life and trust the process, you move through those challenges with energy, clarity, and resilience. You do not resist, you respond. You do not panic, you adapt. You do not fight, you create. Consider the people who achieve extraordinary impact in their lives. They do not achieve it by controlling every detail. They achieve it by mastering flow and trust. They know how to align themselves with the natural rhythm of life. They know when to push, when to pause, and when to release. They know how to act with purpose while letting go of outcomes that are not theirs to control. This is why they create more, experience more, and live more fully than those who cling, resist, and fight. Flow and trust are not just strategies, they are states of being. They are the energy through which life itself moves. They are the hidden force behind every breakthrough, every moment of genius, every leap of faith that leads to extraordinary results. When you embrace flow and trust, you transform every aspect of your life. Your relationships improve because you stop trying to control others and start moving with understanding and empathy. Your career accelerates because you focus on what you can influence and trust the process for the results. Your personal growth explodes because you release fear and resistance and allow your potential to express itself fully. Flow and trust create a life where energy is aligned, actions are purposeful, and results are inevitable. Receiving what is yours begins with the willingness to let go of what is not. Most people spend their entire lives grasping, struggling, and forcing things to happen, thinking that effort alone guarantees results. They chase success, they chase recognition, they chase validation, and yet the harder they push, the more elusive their goals become. There is a hidden principle in life that few truly understand. When you stop forcing, when you stop controlling, when you stop clinging to what you think should be yours, you create space for what is truly meant for you to arrive. Everything you desire, love, freedom, wealth, fulfillment, exists in that space. The paradox is simple yet profound. You only receive what is truly yours the moment you release your grip. Most people confuse desire with attachment. They believe that wanting something means holding on tightly to it. They believe that controlling outcomes and managing every detail is the way to guarantee results, but attachment is a form of resistance. It binds your energy, clouds your judgment, and limits your potential. When you are attached to a particular outcome, you are telling life that there is only one way for it to happen, one timeline, one circumstance, one path. Life, however, is infinitely creative. Opportunities, solutions, and blessings often arrive in forms that our limited minds cannot predict. By clinging, we block those possibilities. By releasing, we open the door for life to deliver in ways far greater than anything we could have manufactured. Receiving what is yours requires trust. Trust in yourself, trust in your abilities, trust in your intuition, and trust in the flow of life. Most people do not trust themselves or life enough to release control. They fear loss, they fear failure, they fear the unknown, and so they hold on tightly, exhausting themselves in the process. But trust is not blind. Trust is active. Trust is based on the understanding that you have what it takes to handle whatever comes, that you can navigate challenges, adapt to circumstances, and make the most of every opportunity. When you trust, you stop resisting. You stop forcing, you stop trying to control the uncontrollable, and in that moment of release, life begins to move in your favor. Receiving what is yours also requires clarity. You must know what you truly desire versus what you think you should desire. Society, family, peers, and past experiences often shape our ideas of success, love, and fulfillment. We chase things because they are expected of us, not because they resonate with our deepest values. Letting go involves cutting through that noise and understanding what is authentically yours. Once you are clear, once you understand what you truly want, the act of letting go becomes intentional. You release distractions, old patterns, limiting beliefs, and attachments that no longer serve you, and you make room for the life you are meant to receive. Action is also essential. Letting go does not mean passivity. It does not mean waiting for life to hand you what you want while you sit idle. Letting go is about focusing on what you can control, your actions, your mindset, your effort, while releasing attachment to how and when results appear. The energy you save from not forcing, not worrying, not resisting can now be directed toward inspired action. Your productivity, creativity, and effectiveness increase dramatically because you are no longer weighed down by fear and attachment. You act from a place of clarity and alignment, not from desperation or need. When you release control and trust the process, life responds in kind. The right people show up. The right opportunities appear. The right solutions emerge. Timing aligns, circumstances converge, and the resources you need often appear just when you need them most. It is as if the universe has been waiting for you to stop struggling, stop pushing, and stop trying to force what is not ready to come, so it can finally deliver what is truly yours. The moment you understand this principle, your perspective shifts. You stop seeing life as a battle and start seeing it as a partnership. You stop striving out of fear and start creating from abundance. You stop holding on to outcomes and start embracing possibilities. You become magnetic to the experiences, people, and circumstances that align with your highest purpose. You begin to realize that everything you want is already available. It has been waiting for you to release resistance and open your hands. Receiving what is yours is not about luck. It is not about chance. It is not about forcing events. It is about alignment, trust, clarity, and inspired action. When you release what is not yours, trust the flow, and focus on what you can control, you allow life to deliver your desires in ways far beyond what you imagine. You stop struggling against the current and begin moving with it, experiencing the energy, opportunities, and abundance that were always available to you but blocked by your own grip.